Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I have another book review for you of the original ending for the Goosebumps HorrorLand series. Originally there was only supposed to be 12 books, this is the 12th, and the contracts got extended, and of course R.L. Stine had to write more. There ended up being like 19, I think 19. Horror of the Chiller House, or At the Chiller House, the last book officially, from what I remember. Anyway, this book is number 12, like I said, of Goosebumps HorrorLand, The Streets of Panic Park. Now, you can't really see that cover too well, I think, but of course, there's Slappy right there riding a carousel. Dude, I love this cover. This is one of the best Brandon Dorman covers that have ever existed, in my personal opinion. I love it. It's so colorful. It's so beautiful. Look at that. How could you not love that cover, man? It's so wild. So pretty with the orange and reds and everything else. The fire around the horse carousel thing. Anyway, this was phenomenal. Now, like I said at the end of the last review, for Help We Have Strange Powers, I've already read Escape from Horrorland, the book that comes after that book and before this book. The difference between that book and this book, compared to most of the Horrorland books before it, are that usually they were about 100 pages of a story and they had about 30 or 40 pages at the very end that tied them into this big overarching story for the first 12 books. And eventually, Escape from Horrorland and this book, Streets of Panic Park, are just one big 130 to 140 page book of just one complete story, finishing off that storyline of the Horrorland adventures that the kids were going through from all the different books previously that all ended up as very special guest characters within Horrorland. Now, like I said, 140 pages, just a direct story. This picks up exactly in the last moment of where Escape from Horrorland ended. And Escape from Horrorland I liked a whole lot too. I gave it like a 4 out of 5 star rating when I read it, probably 2 years ago. From what I remembered of it, I really enjoyed it. I want to thank again the Goosebumps wiki guys who work over there. If it weren't for you guys, I would not have had an easier time jumping right into this because I read the summary again of what happened at Escape from Horrorland to kind of keep myself up to par to what happened. I didn't want to go back and reread the whole book again just because I just wanted to jump to this book. I've been waiting forever to get to this book. And it was such a great read, dude. It was such a great read. If this had ever been the last Goosebumps book we ever got at the time, I would have been fine with that. It was such a great ending, a great finale. This is my version of the Avengers Endgame of the Goosebumps universe, you know? It is the end, or possibly what should have been the end of Goosebumps at the time, even though I love everything that's come after, like Most Wanted and Slappy World and so many other great things. But this is great. So basically, in case you haven't read Escape from Horrorland, this might have a couple of little faint, tiny spoilers for that, and kind of beginning spoilers for this book. It's such an interconnected story, it's hard not to spoil some things from the end of Escape from Horrorland, but that's a great book too. Again, I wouldn't recommend reading that immediately before this. I recommend reading all 11 books in order before you read this one, because you're going to get lost if you don't. Streets of Panic Park is a very engaging read, a very fun read. Basically, it picks up at the very end of the cold mansion that everybody was inside of, that the shadow people were outside of, and kind of standing outside of the doors and stuff, and kind of crowding around the kids. And the kids happen to see a person standing up on the stage or whatever, named the Menace, and he had a podium in front of him, of course, that he was staring out of. And the Menace they hadn't really been introduced to. We didn't really know anything about the Menace until this book. We knew some things. I think Escape from Horrorland had a couple of mentions of him by name, the Menace, but we didn't see him until the end of that book. Now, the Menace is a very interesting character. I love the fact that we found out some cool things about him. He has a very interesting characteristic about him I don't want to spoil for you, but he is very two-faced, and it's a very interesting thing about him. I like that a whole lot. Very eerie, you know? It's more bizarre when it happens kind of more to another character later on. There is a lot of body horror in this book. Literally, from the ending of Chapter 1, one of the kids that we love from the old classic series has something absolutely horrific happen to him. And as the book series, or as this book goes on, you have more horrific things happening to other characters that we like from these kids. I'm gonna tell you, dude, there's some really horrific imagery in here. It's not that this is like the goriest Goosebumps book ever, or even the scariest for that matter. There's a lot of really crazy, intense, really wild, again, body horror type stuff that happens. If you like some Cronenberg type stuff, you'll like this. There's a lot of that in here. I'm going to tell you, dude, I had a great time reading this. My wife was seeing me be so engaged. Like, I woke up first thing today, because yesterday I was going to try to read this and get it done, and I had so much to do yesterday and so much cleaning to catch up on. I worked my tail off all Monday, dude. I had the whole day off from work, and I dedicated almost all of it to cleaning and some chores and stuff, and I went to a little smoothie shop and got my wife a beautiful, wonderful raspberry smoothie that she loves so much. A very good place, too. Really enjoy that place. had so much to do, I didn't get any reading done at all yesterday, even though I said on Sunday night that was my plan, was to read most of Monday and get this book reviewed and talked to with you guys. That did not happen. I'm very sorry about that. I tried my best. But this is great. I had such a good time today waking up and just bombing through this book as fast as possible before work. And it's crazy and hectic and insane, and there's so much happening in it that you cannot tell me this is not one of the most fun, insane reads you've ever read from Goosebumps, and one of the best utilizations of HorrorLand as well, even though most of it takes place within Panic Park, which is kind of another HorrorLand, but in another place trapped in the year 1974, and kind of in the middle of nowhere. Of course, from what I remember from reading Streets of Panic Park, I'm pretty confident that it mentioned in here that this place is almost like a black and white movie, kind of. They keep using the word gray, and I assume that's what they mean. The shadow people that we were talking about too a minute ago are, in my opinion, terrifying. They have like a smoky mist to them. I think their body is mostly made of smoke, but it's kind of like you still see the person's face, kind of like at the end of The Haunted School. If you've read The Haunted School, it kind of reminds me a little bit of that very Twilight Zone feel to it. This has a very big-time finale feel to it. Now, one of the things the Menace does to the kids that are kind of the big focus of the whole story for plot is that they put bracelets all over the kids' wrists, basically. And there's a thing called the fear meter, and they actually have a revelation about some certain characters as well. There's a falling out amongst the kids. There's a couple of kids within this group that they don't trust at all, and they want kind of just cast out from the group. The Menace deals with these particular kids. If you read the book, you'll see. I'm not going to tell you who it is because I don't want to spoil it for you. But there's a lot of falling out with the kids, a lot of arguing amongst themselves here, just like there was in Escape from Horrorland when they went through the Tunnel of Hate. Instead of the Tunnel of Love, they went through the Tunnel of Hate. That was really fun. Let's see. What else was there? Oh, the fear meter. So the fear meter has to hit 100 on an actual meter scale. The more scared that the kids get, the more this meter is going to increase. So the whole point of this book is the Menace trying to scare the kids as much as possible. And of course, our favorite villains, including the one on the cover, my personal favorite, Slappy, they're all kind of being utilized to make the best effort they can to scare the crap out of the kids and to try to raise that meter to 100. And the book is a very big countdown story. I'm really enjoying that. I thought that was just a really, really fun, different type of thing I've never seen in Goosebumps before. It was a very interesting thing to just show how creative Stein is and how he can always do something different. Doesn't matter what it is, he can always find some way to do something new and make it fresh, even on top of that. And I wasn't a fan of these books for the HorrorLand series, having each book kind of tie into the next book. I never liked that. The old classic series shines so heavily because you didn't have to do that. HorrorLand isn't even in current reprints from what I see at like Barnes & Noble and stuff. You can get them on eBay, well not eBay, but on Amazon and stuff from what I understand. But they're not like in current printing. I'm pretty sure these are out of print now from what I understand. But still, that first 12 books have a lot of flaws. From after the second book, Creep from the Deep, which is the third Deep Trouble book, after that book, most of these books just kind of sink for me. A lot of them are really not that great. You have ones like, is it They Call Me Monster? I believe is what it's called. There's ones like that are really fun for the most part. I had some good books. Help We Have Strange Powers was the last one I read before this book. That was a really good one. Escape from Horrorland is really good. But most of these Horrorland books are not the most engaging to me. They're kind of the weakest Goosebumps books out there in a lot of the ways that I would say. There's not many I would say that about, but most of them I would argue that for. And this is a really great one. A really, really great one. And when I say great, I mean great. Like, I love this. I thought it was just a phenomenal read. Just so constantly crazy and hectic, and there's so much tension building throughout this book. You don't see a whole lot of tension building in Goosebumps. You usually just see kind of a scare one night, and then a scare the next time, and then something creepy happens here. A lot of the cliffhangers at the end of chapters are really what gets you through Goosebumps books. This has an actual tension kind of rising throughout the whole story that really works, and it really makes it more effective than a lot of Goosebumps books get. I will constantly remember this book because a lot of the details, just because there's a lot of horrific stuff in here, a lot of stuff I've never seen in Goosebumps. And of course, this is like the first time ever, from what I understand, of seeing the monsters kind of team up in a big attack the kids type of situation. That was fun too. There were some other things I've never seen in Goosebumps I won't spoil for you too that kind of go into the ending of the book. I had a blast reading this. I love certain characters like Carly Beth. I love Michael from They Call Me Monster or whatever it was called. I really like most of these characters. I feel like between Escape from Horrorland and this book, I grew to know these characters better than I did in their own individual books, like Say Cheese and Die Screaming, or you know, They Call Me Monster, any of those types of books. I feel like I grew to know these kids better within this book than I did even in Escape from Horrorland. It feels like there was a better development on their personalities and stuff. There were some that kind of go in the background, like Julie and, is her name Abby? I think her name is Abby. She's one of them out there that I still don't remember what book she was from, because all the characters' names just kind of go out of my head, unless it's like Carly Beth and Sabrina from Haunted Mask. But even so, I had a great time reading this. I just enjoyed the crap out of it. I think I could not possibly recommend the book enough to you if you haven't read it. Just again, you need to read the first 11 in order. In order is the drastic words here. You need to read them in order to get to here, but man, is it worth it. Spongy, my friend out there, kept telling me that it was worth it. And of course, I have a bunch of other books left until I get to the actual end of Horrorland, but for Arc 1, this is the end of Arc 1, and that was a very weak arc, but the ending is so great in these last two books that it really kind of just made everything worthwhile. It made a lot of it worthwhile. And I think the first two books, again, Revenge of the Living Dummy, I love that a lot. Creep from the Deep, I love that a whole lot too. And some of the other books have their moments too, like I said. But overall, I loved Streets of Panic Park. I cannot wait to see if any of you guys have read this, if any of you guys have sat through the first 12 books from the Horrorland series. I really, really dug this. I think it has so much going for it, so much fun and potential for it. I'm curious with the ending of this book, the last like couple of sentences, couple of paragraphs, if that will be brought up for later on within the Horrorland books because of Jonathan Chiller's involvement and everything else. Of course, I've read Slappy New Year, so I don't know if there's anything that happens before that that leads into Slappy New Year and then the Jonathan Chiller book, the last book of the whole series. Not really sure how that's going to work, but I'm still interested to see what's going to happen with all of this. I'm really excited about all this. Man, I had a blast. I had such a blast reading this today. It was so much fun. Again, the cover and everything, just, it's so great. I wish there was a carousel in the book. I don't think there was. But it made me, I was kind of bummed because Slappy's on the cover and he was not in the book until like over halfway. Like maybe 3/4 of the book until he finally just kind of shows up. As well as the other monsters too. Most of this book is the Menace and his sidekicks kind of doing their own thing, and the Shadow People. The Shadow People really creep me out in general. But there's some really good scenes, including an elevator scene in here. If you like claustrophobia scenes, that's gonna get to you. I think personally, R.L. Stine, you did a wonderful job with this book, man. You just completely knocked this out of the park. It was a great read. I enjoyed the crap out of it. It was such a fun read. That's the best way to explain this. I know we're doing a series based around a horror amusement park, but this just really encapsulated that, in my opinion, involving with the tension and everything else of happening around us. Do you like Horrorland or Panic Park more? Personally, as much as I love One Day at Horrorland, the book, I think I like the actual location of Panic Park more than I do Horrorland. As much as I love both, I think I like Panic Park more. I wish we had more books dedicated to this, like its own standalone book within Slappy World or something. That could be fun. Tell one of the stories from the 70s or something. I don't know. You didn't have to, because Goosebumps tries not to be dated most of the time, but, you know, it is what it is. When it comes to Streets of Panic Park, if I had to rate this book on a 5-star basis, I would probably lean towards giving this a really high 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this. I don't really have any complaints about it. It just didn't hit the bar I think it needs to hit to get a 5 out of 5 from me. I loved this, though. It was such a good read, man. It just made you fall in love with Goosebumps all over again. You ever read a book from any series at all that after the series kind of got a little weaker, you got a little burnout or whatever, you've been kind of burnt out just with life, and you sit down and you read something really good, it just really engages you and really just reinvigorates you in a lot of ways. That's how I feel. It's almost like when I get a really good workout or something, you know? Anyway, what are your thoughts on this book? Did you love Streets of Panic Park? Did you love Arc 1 of the Horrorland series, the first 12 books? Did you love those? Do you think they're perfect in a whole consistency? Do you think they're not consistent? Let me know all that down below. Do you think it was a mistake to have all the books kind of tie into each other? I personally do. I might do an overview video when I do my big ranking video too, one day of all the Horrorland books. I might have to discuss that a little bit and my thoughts of some of that, maybe with some spoilers. Not really sure, but we'll do that one day, possibly. Anyway, for now, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around for the videos and talking with me and commenting and just subscribing and everything else that you do. It means the world to me. It's really honestly great. I'm so thankful that God blessed me with you guys being here, and yeah. Arc 1's done. I'll start working my way through finishing the other ones. I've read Weirdo Halloween and Slappy New Year. I think it's all I've read from the books after this book. So, yeah, I've got like 6 or 7 books left of Horrorland. I'm going to try to finish that in 2021. That's my big goal. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this book? Put it down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. God bless you. Goodbye.